a very big welcome to the two of you, Judith and Chris. And you've embarked on an incredible task of putting your relationship, the journey of your relationship, on paper in the chapter of a brilliant new book, Willing to Love. I guess my first question to you is, what first struck you? What was your initial inspiration in deciding to embark on writing a chapter for this book?
Well, actually, we were asked. So Anne Yeomans, who is a very long-term friend of mine, rang me out of the blue and said, would we like to write a chapter for this book that was being created? They were particularly interested in having a same-sex couple. And the biggest challenge really was that neither Chris nor I would call ourselves writers. So we thought a little while about it, didn't we? And then we said, well, we'll give it a go. So the inspiration was a sort of, let's give it a go. And perhaps in our minds, some idea that we've been extremely lucky with our relationship, and we've worked pretty hard in our relationship. And there could be some things that we know about, learned about. Plus, we wanted to represent a same-sex couple. Heterosexual couples don't have, and I think we say this in the book, you know, they don't own long-term relationships.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's, I think that's one of the really great welcome contributions, is that that you bring a voice from a different perspective that helps open up the whole field. Mm-hmm. This book was a collaboration, so in some way, each of the people that have contributed have helped to form the shape of this book. What was the collaboration like? What were the highlights?
Well, we had once a month, we had a Zoom meeting. Not all couples participated, but most of it. And we were sharing, and we helped each other if some were a bit insecure, or we also sent each other parts of the chapter. So it was a very vivid, what's the name? Journey with each other.
Yeah. And not unlike developing a relationship, actually.
That's what I was thinking.
So we were all a bit shy to start with.
Yeah.
And then as the time went by, it became easier to work collaboratively together.
And of course, you both have long histories with psychosynthesis. Mm-hmm. There's something in the book, the way you describe, the honesty with which you describe your relationship and your relating, you know, the complexity of that I felt reading quite humbled to be able to share some kind of insight. What was that process like for the two of you?
Well, I found it really interesting. It was to look with each other, the way, our way with each other, and finding how we want to do this, and how open we want to be as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a real challenge in there, because, you know, both of us have had many therapeutic trainer relationships with students where we just don't share our personal lives with people. And suddenly we were revealing our personal lives So we're both retired from therapy. We don't work in therapy anymore. So I think for both of us, there was a bit of a, oh,
Yeah.
is it over? Can we do this? And then once we got into it, yeah, it parts of the chapter flowed. Parts of the chapter were more difficult to deal with, particularly, as I say, neither of us are writers. And to have two voices to come together was also an interesting challenge, wasn't it?
That's why we found it helpful to do it how we did it finally. That it was like a conversation with each other.
Yeah.
And that helped. I think that helped. Was a good way for us.
But the other thing is, you know, we had lives before we met each other, quite significant lives before we met each other. So how much of that past and history to put in? And we decided to put very little of that in. So as you all know, the book kind of starts with when we met. The chapter starts with when we met.
Yeah. So lots of decision, and that conversation comes across in that ongoing conversation comes across quite deep-rooted way that we negotiated life together. And also, you know, as a journey of spiritual transformation.
Yeah. I think certainly for me, in reflecting on the whole journey, it became much clearer to me, although of course we've talked about it over the years, that it was in our coupledom that I think the sentence I use, it was a crucible for healing for both of us. But the relationship allowed us to truly make a deeper connection with ourselves, with oneself, and to trust. By trusting the relationship, somehow I could trust myself much more, a deeper sense of connection. It's quite difficult to put into words, actually, but I
think how you've described it, you know, resonates with what I've read in your chapter. So yeah,
I think it was experience we shared, wasn't it?
Yes.
Although we actually never really talked about it before.
So one mirrors the other, as you're able to do that in this context.
Yeah.
Translates into yourself. Oh, fabulous. I think it's a great read, and I think it's a really lovely contribution to psychosynthesis. What really struck me as I was reading is that it was a real journey along with you and Chris, the two of you together. And what I experienced was the relief of not reading another book that was going to teach me a different view or the same view of psychosynthesis, but rather that the philosophy flowed through the pages of your own story. So thank you. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you.